process. Ex-
In process.
there we go. I was waiting for that cue. Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Majira Zender, and I am joined by my lovely colleague, Lyndon Howard Murphy, today. And I just wanted to say a big thank you to Joan for reaching out to us earlier, actually before I was hired, to get more information about what we do at Montana Legal Services. And so today we just wanted to kind of speak to you all about what we're about, um, what we do, and how best we can offer services to you or to any community member you might think need them. There we go. So today we're just going to I'm going to give a quick overview of what Montana Legal Services is about. Um, I'm going to go over just what kind of services we provide, who's eligible for our services, how you apply for our services. I'm going to go quickly over some few online resources that are available to anyone throughout the state of Montana, and then just kind of give you a quick overview of some of the programs that we're doing, because I think sometimes we are always first and foremost a law firm, but we also do a lot of different programs that help throughout the community to improve access to justice. And then I've left some time, hopefully, for Q&A. So I know that there have been a couple of questions about different legal issues, and I'll hope to kind of address those, but also just talk through some of the pieces about how we can help through them. So MLSA is a federally and privately funded law firm, and we provide free legal assistance in civil legal cases to low-income people. Our mission primarily is to protect and enhance the civil legal rights of and promote systemic change for Montanans living in poverty. We are the only nonprofit law firm that provides these services throughout the state. And we would not be able to do this kind of work without our internal team of attorneys, support and administrative staff. We have program coordinators, we have intake specialists. We also have about 15 AmeriCorps, which we call Justice for Montanans, AmeriCorps members who serve a year-long term to help, really support us. We also really heavily rely on Montana's legal community and partnerships throughout the state to make sure that we continue to increase access to justice. So one of those ways is that MLSA coordinates and supports local pro bono programs throughout the state and partner with a few local bar associations. And so right now, this includes, I believe it's a little bit over 200 volunteer attorneys who give their time and effort to us. Um, so we're a small and mighty team. And I just like to show this slide because I think we sort of get siloed because we have offices in Helena, Missoula, and Billings, but people don't realize that we provide services throughout the state, no matter where the client is. So depending on the civil legal issue, a client that we might take on may end up working with an attorney in Billings, maybe work with an attorney in Helena or Missoula. Um, and so that kind of decides like who goes out, but we are always up to going up for the clients, whether it be a hearing, advice, etc. We do a lot of stuff on phone, but we're always open to going and visiting someone, especially if there is some sort of accessibility issue. Um, this also map shows that we have a couple of partnerships with community health centers, which you'll see are shown kind of scattered everywhere throughout the state, where we take immediate referrals from those health centers and we're able to give legal advice or services to those clients. We also have partnerships with local domestic violence shelters, which is changing at the moment. We've got a few MOUs that are kind of sifting around. But in the past, we've usually had an attorney that was actually directly able to help with any legal, like an advocate that's working with survivors of violence to get them the legal services that they need. And additionally, we have attorneys that are licensed in all 7 tribal governments to able to practice on the reservations. And so we have a group that's very passionate about what they do, and they go out to help provide that kind of legal service to tribal members. So I know that it is lunchtime, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a like slow in the day. Either you've had it before this meeting or afterwards, but I like to kind of start off with just a question about I keep saying civil legal problems, and I just wanted to know if anybody knew what I meant when I said, like, what is a civil legal problem? Because I think that there's a lot of different information that gets out there. So, yeah, please indulge me if you don't mind. I can't see the chat or anything, but does anybody have an idea what I mean by a civil legal problem?
Be like, do you guys do divorces?
Yeah, great.
Yep.
Yeah, divorce. That's
Custody
awesome.
matters, paternity.
Yeah, you got it. Great, great. Any other ideas before I move on? All right, well, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, so there are 2 types of legal problems, and we usually qualify them as civil and criminal and civil. And they both are pretty common, but the one that's most common because we see a lot of TV shows about it is criminal. And so I like to take a moment to just kind of clarify that, like, we primarily work on uh, civil cases. So a criminal case, right? It's clearly a legal problem, meaning it's usually, some sort of form of felony or misdemeanor. Someone does something to somebody. Um, this usually in the actual court case, it's the state versus whoever has committed potentially the crime, whether they haven't or not. And we all have that constitutional right to have counsel. So that's where if you've heard like the Office of Public Defender, you are assigned an attorney and they help you have a free and fair trial. Civil cases are very different, and civil cases get left out a lot of the time. They are usually can be between individuals or an organization. There's usually not really jail time involved with civil matters, and that's partially why we don't have like a constitutional right to have an appointed attorney. And so, where criminal cases, you can get a public defender. For civil cases, this is where civil legal aid comes in. And so, MLSA only helps with civil legal cases. We, if we're helping with any sort of a criminal case, it's actually not dealing with the person who has been charged with the crime. We're usually dealing with the potential victim. So you might have seen us, our attorneys, come in for certain cases where there's potentially a victim that has been dealing with the crime, but they don't represent the potential defendant that is being prosecuted. So love to always put that out there because that is something that I always got confused by, but it's always good to know. So, what are the types of civil legal problems we address? So, MLSA, we work really to empower individuals to protect and enhance their civil legal rights. And those are in particular in matters where they mean really the most to us. And I'm thinking like our basic human needs. So we really try to work to make sure that people know that the law affords them many rights that protect them from housing, public benefits, if they are victims of domestic violence in their families, and also even achieving economic stability. So on this slide, we list a few examples of the types of legal programs we are currently focused on. So just to give you an example, when it comes to basic necessities, right? Um, there is the right to due process that ensures that everyone has the right to challenge a negative decision that's made about their public benefits, like the reduction of eating of or ending of food stamps, which I think is really common, right? Even when it's redetermining Medicaid, I know that that has been a big issue in Montana. So those are the sorts of ideas that we're looking at. For victims of domestic violence, we have a ton of tools like an order of protection or custody arrangements, parenting plans that help them escape that abuse. Um, there is a Fair Debt Collection Practice Act that gives certain rights to debtors and restricts debt collectors from certain behavior, like calling you at, all the time. So lawyers really can help with these issues, and and a lawyer can help you deal with these sort of matters in a way that can actually give you a positive outcome. But there are some specific legal problems that we can't address, and so those previous ideas, those are definitely problems that we deal with. Sometimes it's a grant by grant basis, but usually these are the problems that we can never address and we haven't in the past. So one of them is that we cannot provide legal services or information or any sort of advice to someone that is already incarcerated. That is part of our grant funding. Are the largest funder that we have. That's a huge stipulation. Another one is, like I've said before, we can't help with criminal defendants. And then some of the other cases that come up a lot of the times are like car accidents or like personal injuries. So like you slip on the sidewalk sort of thing, fender benders. And then of course, like medical malpractice is also one of those things. So before I go into sort of how we help, I wanted to pause to see if there are any questions about the kinds of problems that we handle. All right. Silence is golden. Right on. Okay, so how do we help? So there's a lot of ways that we help. One of them is we provide free legal information and forms. We also provide free legal advice. Um, and that could be something like a phone call with an attorney to provide legal advice on a matter. They can also provide brief services. So, drafting a document that you might need to be working on, maybe even needing an attorney to contact a third party with you. When we are able, we can also provide full representation in eligible cases. So that means that we can represent a client in a court lawsuit or even an administrative hearing. And then in addition, we really try to create free referrals to any sort of wraparound services that we might be available, as well as if you aren't qualified for our services, we always work to refer you to volunteer attorneys. So that's also one of the big problems, and that's sort of the conversation I was talking about earlier with pro bono attorneys. So we try to take cases that maybe we can't do and we try to put them with a pro bono attorney that will actually able to give you that free legal advice. And then the final one is something that I don't think that people really know, but we really love to give technical legal assistance to our community partners. So one of those ways is the best way I can describe it is with our domestic violence shelters. We will have attorneys that will do trainings with them on, legal advice versus legal information, and that's usually with their legal advocates that they have. We've also done trauma informed, trainings with the sort of service providers. We even do pleas, which are continuous learning experiences for lawyers throughout the state that are required by the Montana Bar Association to take certain amount. And so we do a lot of that kind of work as well. So this is the eligibility or who is eligible for our services. The first thing, as always, is that has to be a civil legal case. The second thing, which can be a little tricky, is that you have to be either a citizen or have an immigrant status, and you have to show documents for it. So we are unable to provide legal services to anybody that's undocumented. However, there are loopholes to this, meaning if somebody has been the victim of a human trafficking, meaning like they came in undocumented, but it was because they were either brought here for trafficking, whether it be labor or sexual. Those are specific, they're specific visa holders that they can actually apply for a visa that will allow them to stay and be able to find justice depending on the certain legal matter. The other group is also our H-2A workers. So those are agricultural workers that come into Montana that are temporarily helping provide a service. So those are those folks that come in for the cherry harvest every year, maybe even helping out on specific ranches or farms with harvesting seasons, etc. So that's throughout the state. The other way that we're eligible is that they can't have any conflicts with us. So that means that if we have somebody that, you know, applies and maybe they were the adverse party, the party that we were against in a specific case, we can't take on their case. And that has some more to do with us working as a law firm. And it would be a form of malpractice. And then we also have income guidelines and asset guidelines. And so, you know, we really focus on low income Montanans, but I think that all of us in the room know that the what is considered a low income Montanan might actually be considered a regular middle class Montanan that might not know that they are qualifying because of their income. So I think like that, I always like to say like, you know, when it comes to income guidelines, why don't you just refer? We can figure that out. And so again, like we always get people, they're like, I'm not sure if I qualify. Like, what if I don't know my problem is an actual legal problem? I think that there's a lot of kind of dicey situations that people get into that they don't actually know that they are dealing with a legal issue that an attorney might be a really good idea to reach out to. And I just always like to say it's never hurts to over refer to us or apply. Because at the end of the day, even if we cannot help with a case, we can help refer you to other services that might be able to help you with the cause of the problem. So I always like to say, please, please, please refer to us because we have the resources, we have the connections with the community, and we can get someone in the right place for that right specific task. It might not be their legal issue, but we can probably help you with some wraparound services. And so, you know, I know this is already on the website for you all, but just to reiterate that there are 3 different ways that you can apply for our services. You can apply online on montanalawhelp.org. You can call the helpline. We're open, our intake specialists take calls Tuesdays through Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We also have language interpretation available. So we actually do have some intake specialists on call that speak Spanish and is able to take on clients that might not be able to speak in English but speak Spanish. We also take on other languages as well. We also help with ASL. So we're able to make that happen. And then you can always also apply in person. So those are our offices in Billings, Helena, and Missoula. You can also help provide services to the community health center partnerships that we have, which if you're interested, I'm happy to give a list of. And then there are a few domestic violence shelters that we help with that you can also apply. Yeah, and so, you know, I just wanted to give like an overview of some of the online services, especially for you all the way out there in Sheridan County. I'm in Helena. We have a lot of attorneys that are able to move around, but I also know that that can be taxing to figure out access. And so we have a lot of different resources online that can really help with legal problems. And I always stress that you should always go to those online resources first, because if you're thinking you might have a legal issue, you might be able to search through, for example, Montana Law Help to be able to see if your problem is a legal problem and maybe that you might need to speak to a lawyer to figure out what you want to do next. So Montana Law Help is our front door, meaning it has all these legal information, forms, you know, DIY guides for you to sort through your program. There's actually a little widget on the right side that you can click on, and it will guide you through potentially a problem that you're facing, and it will lead you to information and resources that would be available. There's also a live chat So you can actually, when people are available, you can actually chat with someone to sort out a legal issue. And Lyndon is the master of all of that. So if you have any questions about that, we're happy to answer them. Another resource we have is askcarla.org, which is essentially a place where if you are eligible, you can um, essentially apply to have a question or something answered, and a pro bono attorney will email you back with that advice. So it's also a really, really wonderful resource that we have, and that's for something that maybe you might not think is like very urgent, but you would like a quick answer about. That's a great service to use. And then we've got MontanaCrimeVictimHelp.org, which really helps with crime victims and their family members and even service providers find information on other resources. So, for example, like what legal assistance would look like. And it kind of helps those that look at it navigate the justice system and understand how they can potentially rebuild their lives, because a criminal case is just as earth-shattering for the family and honestly for the victim than it is also for the defendant. So that is a great resource we have. And then the other one is Montana Debt Options, which has a tool that you can use to find out if a debt collector is breaking the law by calling you too much or something, or insistently asking you for information. And this is also a place where you can find forms and information to kind of sort through potentially your money problem that you're having. And then I like to just give an overview. We have many different programs at MLSA that we work within to create better access to justice. And so these three are not the only ones we have. We have a ton. I just thought that it would be good to highlight that we do more than just provide civil legal aid resources and advice. We also help, create those systems in the community. So on the screen, you'll see that I've highlighted about 3 different programs that we work with. One is the MEEP. I call it the Montana Eviction Intervention Project. And so it's for somebody that has been served with eviction papers. We can help that person understand how to file or navigate the eviction process. We help with negotiating with landlords, and we can also help provide housing navigators to help assist clients in finding potentially alternative housing when needed. Another program that's kind of not client serviced, but to just lawyers in the state of Montana is our Ripple project, which is our rural incubator project for lawyers. And essentially it helps mentor not only future generation attorneys, but attorneys that are wanting to be in rural areas, and helps them start their practice. So we help provide clients for them. They will take referrals for us, and then we also provide them that mentorship to figure out how they can start their own practice where they live. And then the final one that we're very, very proud of and super excited about is our Travel Advocacy Incubator Project, which helps to partner with different tribal courts located all throughout Montana to recruit and train tribal lay advocates who can actually represent people that do not or cannot get representation in those tribal courts. And so we train advocates, we equip them with the skills and the support they need to even run their own legal practices in the tribal courts of the reservations that they work into. So this is really about improving the access to having somebody with you in the tribal courts if you're going through a specific legal problem. And if you can't afford attorney, lay advocates are a great resource that can help you navigate that process. Lyndon can correct me, I'm pretty sure, but I'm pretty sure that all the tribal lay advocates actually take the bars in every reservation. So they are like just as fit to help you navigate situations in those in the tribal courts. And we really focus on primarily working with tribal members. So I know that there is an upcoming training this May. So if you have any information on that, or if you'd like to know more, feel free to contact me. I can lead you to the right person. And so with that, I'll just kind of pause and take questions. And before I like really open the floor, I just wanted to reiterate that um, we at MLSA, I know that there were a bunch of questions. I know that Joan kind of gave us that there's some stuff about divorce, parenting plans, especially for unmarried parents, what to do if a parent is not doing what they're supposed to in their parenting plan. There's a lot of stuff about kids' rights. I know that those are, and especially elder abuse and neglect. And I know that those are issues that Joan had mentioned in a few emails that people were interested in talking about. Um, I and Lyndon myself are not allowed to provide legal advice. So that means like I can't give any specific information about your case or maybe the situation that you have, but I can lead you to specific resources that we have. And Joan, I'm happy to share some of we have kind of these, I wouldn't call them fact sheets. We use them as brochures that kind of talk about those sort of things about parenting plans, dissolution of marriage, emancipation. So if there are kids that are thinking that they're in an unsafe home, we do take those cases. Those definitely qualify. And so we really encourage people to apply. So I just wanted to start that conversation first because I hate coming on and being like, I'm so sorry, I can't give you any information on that. Just that's just based off of us as a law firm. It ensures that we're not creating conflicts of interest or, divulging into malpractice. So anyway, that is my soapbox. But I'll stop there. Are there any questions that you have for us?
I have a question. Did you say that you do represent parents who are going through abuse and neglect cases? So like DN cases?
Like,
Like
so
CPS has filed a petition against a parent. Because like here, the public defender's office represents the parent, even though it's not a criminal matter.
yeah, correct. We cannot, and that's an excellent point. We
That's
cannot
that's
help with anything related to the CPS. So if a parent loses their kids and it's CPS's side, we cannot help them get their kids back. That's a great question.
just wanted to check. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Any other questions?
What does it take to, I mean, I'm sure there's a huge process to become a community partner.
Sure. I think it depends on what you are interested in. So with our medical legal partnerships, so if we're working, those are primarily in health centers. Um, we work to create essentially those are kind of very specific. It's essentially the health centers themselves provide funding for us to take on their clients. But for just general community partnership, the best ways that I've seen it is we sit down and create, an MOU about maybe you have people that you would like to refer to us or something like that. We have different screening tools that we can provide for you that might be a little bit easier to use. And you can always we always say you can fill out the application and send it to us by email. So if you know somebody that's going through something like that, I can more than happy to share some of those applications. And yeah, the best way is to take a picture and email it to us. Lyndon, is that correct? I feel like that's usually what we do.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so not too bad. It's not that hard. It just depends on which partnership you'd like to have.
Okay. And can anyone refer? It doesn't need to be a community partner.
Oh yeah. I
Any,
think, yeah, if you know anybody, you are more than welcome to pass them our way. It's a great question.
and then how is that done? The referral, if somebody's not apt to do it themselves or able to do it themselves and you're wanting to help someone out, how is that done?
Yeah, so I've seen it in different ways. So for example, I, this happens a lot with elder clients, maybe. If there's somebody that you might think has a legal issue, one of the best ways that we say is you can either call us, so call the helpline at the time of the matter. Um, and we have specific ways where we kind of handle the conversation. So our intake specialists are trained to kind of ask specific questions about the legal issue that might be there. They immediately ask on the phone, if you are the third party, for example, like you're helping them apply to it, um, that, does this person want to be alone first to answer the questions potentially? So there's that way. And then also just truly filling out an application. So, I would say like if you need any help or assistance with that, calling the helpline is the best bet. Um, that's a great one.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. You're so welcome. Well, I will send this PowerPoint to you, Joan, so you can share it with everybody. And then I'll also send a link to brochures, et cetera, that we have. But I just wanted to say also a deep thank you for having us. I'm still open to taking questions, but I just wanted to make sure that you all are far out there. And when we saw the email that you were coming in, it's been so nice to actually be able to connect with you all there. I think it's so important for us to be hitting the high line. And so just wanted to say thank you for letting us join you. And again, any questions, we'll stay on the line.
Thanks for sharing with us. I learned a lot today. It was fantastic. Thanks.
Good. Yeah, my pleasure. My
Yes,
pleasure.
thank you so much. I did want to, I think Lyndon is aware of this and she probably passed it on to you, that we have a resource booklet. It's a printed version and your information is in there. And also on our online, we've got online resources through Sheridan, what's it called? SCBH Coalition.org. So that is, you're on there also.
Thank
So
you.
thank you.
Yeah, I went on the website to check it out, and you really have us right there on the site. So appreciate you sharing resources with the community. So yeah, just a big thank you again.
Yes, thank you so much. So
All
I'm going to
right.
stop this recording. Let's see.